All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell. I'm out here early this morning with the brethren. We're getting ready to do a concrete pour on this whole entire chicken coop right here. This fancy chicken coop we got is probably like 23 yards, but I'm here to answer a question again this morning. You know, it seems like, I guess what's going on, what do you think? What y'all think is going on? It seems like that people today are interested in marriage, divorce, sex, fornication, adultery, all those subjects. You think it's because of the society that we're in?
Certainly. Oh, absolutely.
Well, anyway, I guess a lot of people are waking up because they have never heard a lot of the information that I've been presenting to them. And not hearing this information, it starts stimulating thought. It starts stimulating thought in the mind and the conscience of people, which is fine. But anyway, I have a question. By the way, here we go again, email. They want me to answer adultery. They want me to answer what is adultery. Now, that's amazing. Okay, let's go on the model or what we've learned here in this society. The way modern day society defines adultery is sex outside of marriage. Any sex outside of marriage makes no difference if you are male or female. That is the common consensus of a society that is influenced by European culture. That's what they say. Okay. Now, but what is the truth? Now, I define truth from a biblical perspective. I don't know where you draw yours from, but that's where I get mine from. And I'm sure that there's a lot of college professors, a lot of people who tote and carry Bibles who assume and think that they understand what the word or the term or the act of adultery is. So I'm going to go ahead and explain it here real quick. The commandment says that you shall not commit adultery. All right? I submit to you that the truth is that adultery can only be committed with a married woman. That's it. A man having sex with a woman that is not married is not adultery. Adultery can only be committed with a married woman. Now, the grand design is that a woman was only created for one man. That's the way she was created. Now, that was from the very beginning. And then, of course, after the fall of man, Moses had to write a plethora of laws. That's called the Torah, or a plethora of laws in order to govern the fallen nature of man. And, of course, now we've got many different societies, many different cultures who have actually sacked the Hebrew scriptures and used them for their own selves, redefined terms, words, terminology, and all this other stuff. And they've come up with something totally different, which is called religion, than what the book says. But if we're going to use the Bible, all you have to do is just go and check behind me. You'll understand exactly what I'm saying. Now, again, adultery can only be committed with a woman that is married, and that's it. And, of course, the penalty for adultery was death. There was no such thing as, like today, you're being protected by the courts and all this other stuff, or if a man went and killed a wife that was suspected of adultery and stuff, he would get thrown into jail and have this exorbitant amount of sentence put up on him. In the Hebrew culture, if a woman was suspected of adultery, then of course in Numbers, it is a law of jealousy it was a spirit that would come up on him, and then they had an actual order set up to be able to adjudicate these matters, of course, which we don't have today because this is not a Hebrew culture. In any way, shape, fashion, or form, they do things totally different. But if the woman committed adultery, then she was stoned to death. There was no repentance for the sin of adultery. Are y'all folks getting me? Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? A man that committed adultery with a woman that is married, he received the death penalty as well. In other words, there are in the scriptures sins that you can cry, you can bawl, you can squall, you can sob, you can repent, you can throw dirt on your head, you can do all kind of things to make some type of repentance or penance, but the only way you could satisfy the law was death, period. It was just literal death, and they are called abominations. But Hey, in this society with free sex, immorality, and everything else, who's going to pay attention to this stuff? I submit to you that the reason why we're in such a decline and the reason why we're so decayed as a people today is for the simple fact that we have ignored the biblical laws, and we've taken a Christian culture, which most of us was born into this culture, and we have accepted their laws, their statutes, their commandments. We have accepted their rules, their guidelines, their religion, and everything else, and placed it before the Hebrew scriptures or the Hebrew thought of the day. So, you know, a good way to quit sin, a good way to make sure that people will stop sinning today, if we actually went back to the law. So if a woman committed adultery and she was caught in the act, kill her. Well, anyway, I understand that's what it did in the Torah. But as we got later on down the line and stuff, you can also see in the prophets that adultery was no longer a sin punishable by death. So now we end up going into a whole bunch of other things. For instance, when the Messiah, there was a woman that was brought to him and she was caught in the very act of adultery. And of course, he stooped down and rolled on the ground, because what was happening? You got all these unjust men running around, breaking all these laws, transgressing all these laws, and misusing and abusing the women, and they had little to any voice whatsoever at all today. And with them not having any voice whatsoever at all, pretty much whatever a man said almost just literally condemned the woman, unless there was some men that was honorable and some men that were around that were very spiritual. So Jesus began to write on the ground, and they kept pressing him for an answer. The scribes and Pharisees did. And then he looked up at them and he said, all right, you it is without sin. Go ahead and cast the first stone. So in other words, he didn't stop them from judging the woman. What he did was have them to be able to internalize it and be able to look inside of their own little wicked heart to see exactly what's going on. And so Jesus turns around and sees that these people take their little stones or their rocks or their boulders, whatever they had, and from the eldest to the youngest, they throw them down on the ground and they walk off, because every one of them was full of sin. In other words, if you are full of sin and you have sins that you have never repented of and you still living in sin, how in the hell can you sit here and judge somebody else? But the key is that this woman was caught in the act of adultery, so it was set up from the very beginning. All right, now with the, you know, the wickedness of man, how do we know that this woman, I mean, we just got something vague in the story and stuff, but it is odd that this woman was caught, that the man wasn't there to actually receive the same judgment. And see, and that's what the Messiah was doing, because he knew the intent, the thoughts and the intent of men's heart. He knew that this woman wasn't getting a fair shake, and he probably already knew that this was a setup from the very beginning. And so they could not judge this woman. So they threw down his stones, and of course, he said to the woman, he says, hey, woman, where are your accusers at? Where are your accusers? No one. There ain't nobody around here, master. He says, I tell you what, neither do I accuse you. Look at this. Go and sin no more. In other words, hey, you got by on this one right here, but don't go do this again. Don't continue on in this behavior. You know, when you look at Leviticus 18, Leviticus 18 are actually laws that govern sexual morality. I mean, from one end of the spectrum to the next, which you would do well if you would go back and you would read those things and forget this cultural design that we've had sitting in front of us right now that is very immoral. As a matter of fact, the United States of America has got Sodom and Gomorrah beat 1,000 times over. And that's the reason why that judgment for us is imminent. But, you know, it had a bunch of do's and don'ts. And the sentiment of this whole entire chapter is this, from the very beginning. Look at here, Israelites. When you go into another country, when you go into this land, do not do after the abominations of these nations, because the iniquity of this land is going to consume it, and I'm going to judge it just like, and I'm going to destroy the thing. And that's what's happening here in America. The iniquity of this land is almost at its zenith. And he says also, you remember when you were in Egypt, don't do after the abominations you saw that these Egyptians have done. Well, now we are in America. We're in captivity and it's diaspora. Listen to me, all you people out there. Listen to me. Don't do after the abominations of the Americans. Do not sacrifice your children to Molech by getting aborted, having all these abortions. Stop all this sexual immorality where you women, you get so bitter and you get so mad as hell and stuff because you got a man that goes out here and he has sex with 2 or 3 or 4 women. I know you're going to hate this, what I'm getting ready to say, but if that man is having sex with 2 or 3 or 4 women, and watch this now, and neither one of those women are married to another man, he just got finished making 2 and 3 and 4 wives. You can't go out there and say, well, hell, if he got all that, I'm going to go out there and get me a man too. See, that's your problem, because you are outside of your order. You are outside of the way you have been created. You are outside of your role. You can't be going out there allowing 4 and 5 men to enter into you. But that's the reason why many of you today, your souls are fragmented as hell. And you women who have adopted this feminist movement, well, I'm just as good as any man and all this old other junk. No, you're not either. You're not just as good as any man, because there ain't a man out there that's worth a damn. So then you ain't just as good as any man. And if you continue to keep taking that actual stance and position that you just as good as any man, then you've actually diminished yourself, your quality and your character. And I know what I'm saying today is very painful, because it flies in the face of all organized religion. It flies in the face of all these liars out here who have fragmented your mind through religion and try to actually get you to be convicted of something that is not sin because religion says. But the truth is, woman, you're designed for one man. Now, there's laws in there, Deuteronomy 24 of divorce, that actually tells the man to be able to give you a divorce if you don't do certain things. Adultery was not one of the things that was a divorceable crime back then. You paid for it by death. So my, how things have changed. Well, we get over to the book of Malachi. It says that you shouldn't deal treacherously with the wife of your youth. And of course, what was happening is that these bootlicking, jackleg, sorry-ass men, they were going out here humbling all these women and stuff. And they were taking on more wives or more concubines. And then from that, they were neglecting their duties with the woman of his youth, or the woman that he had first got married to. Because the rights that are for a woman inside the book, if any of these are diminished at all, they are rules and grounds for a bill of divorce to be handed into her hand so that she will not receive a reproach or a bad name amongst Israel. But today we got men that all they want to do is make women look bad, because their voice is not as strong as a man in a patriarchal society. Well, we're in a feminist society today. But anyway, so what they were doing, they was going out getting all these wives. Then they were neglecting food. They was neglecting the clothing. They were neglecting the conjugal rights of the woman of his youth and stuff. And they was dealing with her treachery. And pretty much when they done something like that, instead of putting these women, instead of giving them a divorce, they were just putting them away. In other words, they was neglecting them. You know, like these bootlickers today, they want to go and humble all these women, and they want to have sex with all these women, but they don't want the responsibility or obligation of actually being financially saddled with all these women, but they want to have all this free sex. Now, that's what you call fornication, which there's a penalty for that too as well. But if a man went into a woman, she became your wife. She became your wife. And we'll talk about all that a little bit later. But I'm trying to get people to understand that if you are going to follow that Bible, and if you're going to understand from a biblical perspective and point of view, it didn't mean you men out there to be honorable. I mean, you'll go out there and stop sticking your little pecker in all these women and stuff. And when you know you're going to be saddled with the, not only the duties, the obligation and responsibility of taking care of this woman for the rest of her life. And the ideal is to keep you women out there. You women, you know, if you would just get back to being honorable, if you would just get back to being holy and stop being dominated by your sorry feelings and emotions, we could have some society. I had a woman, a black woman, the other day. She says, Pastor Dowell, I'm a black woman. What am I to do in this world? What am I to do in this society right here? Because there are 1.8 million more black women than men. What do I do? And I'm telling you right now, you black women, you're getting ready to get pissed off as hell at me. You're really, truly getting ready to get pissed off. This is what you do. Number one, you learn how to shut your mouth. That's what you do, number one. And stop running and wagging that tongue all over the damn place, adopting the same spirit and attitude of Sodom and Gomorrah like the rest of these wicked women in this society has. Learn how to humble yourself, and you need to learn how to become a woman. That's what you need to do. And because if you weren't worried about why black men are fleeing your black ass to go over here to other cultures, women of other ethnicities and stuff, it's because they're not putting up with all that damn lip and stuff no more. They're opting out. And now that they're getting knowledge that they don't have to go out here and get saddled with the government and get a marriage license to where they get raped, robbed, murder, pillage, and everything else, and get literally run through the quagmire of the so-called law system, they're opting out of all this mess. So that means they don't have to deal with the system, neither do they have to deal with you. And so, and y'all got a bad thing going for y'all, because if you continue to keep running your mouth, you continue to keep dominating and ruling over these men. You continue to keep, this is what you're doing. I don't know what man he is that would allow you to dominate and rule over anyway. He must not be worth too much as a man any damn way if a man is going to allow a woman to rule over it. But you need to learn how to become a holy woman, because with the attitude that y'all possess today and the outlook and point of view that y'all have, and you're thinking that you possess the zenith of happiness within your own self, you're losing out. And I'm almost venture to say that men today, they're just simply not going to put up with all this rebellion. You've got this thing called MGTOW that has done rose up, and that's, again, they're using women, but they're not saddling themselves with any duties, responsibility, obligations. Then you got these transgender people, and then you got the lesbians, and then you got the homosexuals, you got men dying by war, men being incarcerated and stuff. Y'all gonna continue to keep on losing out. So the only thing you've got left is either, number one, you learn how to humble yourself, and you learn how to be a woman, a holy woman, or you can just forget about any man ever wanting you, because today men are just simply not putting up with all this damn hollering and screaming and you telling them what to do. A man ain't gonna put up with that crap. So black women, you even got your own race of people. Now I'm gonna use that term race, but you even got black women that don't even want you for a friend, because you run your mouth so dang much. I mean, y'all have such a vile spirit about you. And not only is this just black women, that white women are just like it too. There's women in anyone that has any influence of the culture of Europe, Christianity, or American on them, all these women have problems. Every single one of them. I had a brother in the ministry told me that he says the only way he gonna get another wife and get married again or have another wife is if when she comes over here off the boat. That means she gonna come over here from another country, because he ain't putting up with no damn crap from these American women. And a lot of you women, you get ready to die lonely. You get ready to be alone because nobody wants you, because you have become something other than what you will read about in that book. I go out here almost every day, and it's hard for me to find a woman that actually fits that book in character, in nature, in honor, duties, obligations, responsibility. Can you imagine a woman today calling her husband master? See, some of you already done got a shock just sent through you when you heard that, didn't you? It's sad, isn't it? So guess what? You're not a daughter of Sarah then, isn't you? It's sad. It's really sad. But so men have options today. The only way that some of you women are going to ever experience any point of happiness is if you find a man that is responsible, and he may take you on as another wife, or you may be inside of a family that's already established to where you have to learn how to be rehabilitated, because that's exactly what many of you need is rehabilitation. Because oh man, I'm sure I'm gonna hit on this one. What y'all think, brother? Y'all think I'm gonna hit on this video?
Oh yeah, yes sir.
This is gonna be ugly, isn't it? It's gonna be a bloodletting, isn't it? These Jezebels they're gonna spawn on me, boy. Especially these wicked preachers who don't know anything. But anyway, you can stop all this divorce today simply if people get back to the biblical model. I know I just tore down all your religious point of views, perspectives, and everything else. But the one thing I'm sure of, I've told you the truth, and that is the truth straight way. You do well to listen. You do well to come out. I would tell you this. If I never moved out here into this country environment and setting, I would still think like a lot of you people do in your religion. But because I was able to separate and have long time out here, and watch this, listen real close. Listen to this, listen to this, listen. Wow. No sirens. No honking, nobody cussing nobody out. You don't hear big engines and motors running, just total peace and quiet. Isn't that some serenity? If I never moved out here, I would have never been able to separate myself from the influence of religion to where I could just have me and the Father. I read that Bible, gain an understanding of it for myself, and then live it. Most of you, all you do is regurgitate and rehash what religion is giving you. And religion is giving you a bad rap. and you're going to die miserable. Most of you, you're oxygen takers anyway. Your life is pathetic, ain't worth nothing, simply because you won't submit to God. So, hey, if you're looking for happiness in this life, you're only going to get it when you start obeying the laws and statutes and commandments of the word, and that's it. Elias, you kind of tired now, ain't you?
I'm alright now. My fingers are like falling asleep, so I'm good.
Your fingers are what?
Falling asleep. So
Falling asleep?
Yeah, I'm good.
You'll be all right. Hang in there.
No, I'm good. That's why I
He
said
said he's good. He said he's good. I'll give you an example. Come follow me for a second over here. It's a long video, but people will look at it. Hey, brother. Let's start with Brother Scott right here for a second. Brother Scott, when you look at women today in this society, I'm talking about just women in society, not on our community, not holy women, just women in general, just a regular secular woman, what do you see? Come on up.
Sick spirit. I mean, the divorce rate in this country just says a lot right there. It's nothing like the East. And if you talk to anyone, or if anyone has experienced anyone from an Eastern culture, you could just tell the total opposite mindset from women from the East and women from the West here.
Amazing, huh?
Yes, sir.
Bro, Shane, come on up here and talk loud, brother. Come on up here and talk loud and tell me, what do you see the difference in a secular woman in this culture right here? And I'm going to say the people who have been influenced by this religion of Christianity, because they definitely breeding these things. What do you think the difference is? What is the woman of today in your eyes? What you see?
Bipolar, tripolar, quadpolar. I mean, the minds are just messed up. I mean, they're given totally over to their consumption of themselves. I mean, these women of today, they don't desire to have a head over them. They don't understand that they need a covering. They just totally buck wild.
Buck wild. And that's true. And what a lot of them do is that's why you men really need to get this. The worst thing you can do is allow a woman come spitting in your ears and telling you her side of the story, and then you don't get the whole thing, because meaning you already finished. You already finished. One witness shall not rise up against another witness, but out of the mouth of two or more witnesses, every word shall be established. We're in this culture today where if the woman says something, these Ahab men start bowing down, and worshiping and every dang thing else. It's just a sad situation. Bro, Rich, what said you about the women in the secular society of today?
Well, this development's been a long time in process. Our system has created a de jure equality amongst men and women that doesn't exist in the East, only in the West. And that's why men end up going toe-to-toe with women, and women going toe-to-toe with men. You never really truly know your wife in the West until you meet her in court, and that's pretty much the materialist way that they've raised women up to be materialistic. Because of that equality, they can't be truly happy. Their happiness can only really be measured in terms of material gain and their own personal control. And that's where they find their self-worth and stuff like that. And you just don't see that type of thing. Women in the East are much more content. Women from the East, I've found, my wife just being an example, are much more content and much more humble and willing to be led, than here in the West.
That's right. Yeah. That is true. Hey, think about this homosexual movement today. That men now, of course, now it's demonically inspired, but men would rather break the law of Yah and go lay with another man and have a relationship with another man and get married, so-called, to another man, which I don't know how they do that, but anyway, get married to another man rather than saddle themselves up with a loudmouth, Jezebel-controlled woman. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick, but that's an indictment against you, women. That's what that is. To say that a man would rather go and commit the abomination of homosexuality rather than deal with you. That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. What say you, Brother James? Go ahead and give us the old country view.
Well, my opinion is there's no respect and no honor, no mannerism, no moralities anymore. That's men and women. And everybody's just running wild. There's in the world, there's some good women out there. In my time as a heathen, and they're all saddled up with men that beat them and treat them like dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got all these other women running around, and nobody wants to be with them. And I look at things two different ways now. When I was a heathen, I didn't like what I seen then, but I did like certain things. But now I don't like even looking at none of that. When I go outside these gates, I usually just try to stare at the ground. But there's just no morality anymore.
Well, again, you know, I just thought about something that Brother James has said. You know, for instance, there are some good, honorable women out there that are saddled up with men that basically are pieces of shit. And I've said it once, I said it 1,000 times, because whether you like it or understand it or not, everything's changing in society, especially the way that this society's been running. So whether you like it or not, the homosexual agenda, the gay and lesbian, transsexual agenda, they're setting precedents for this thing called marriage all across this country and world. 37 states in this so-called union right here has already adopted gay marriage already, and now it's being argued in the Supreme Court. Now, can you imagine 50 years ago that it wouldn't even be considered? That's just letting you know the decline that we're in right now. But you know, again, whether you people like it or not, many of you out there who are against the biblical lifestyle of patriarchal rule of polygyny, many of you women and men have already been in polygamy 1,000 times over. How many times you been married and divorced, woman? How many men has been inside of you? How many babies do you have by different men? And you wonder why you're not clothed and in your right mind and you're not sound today? You're fragmenting your soul every time you let a man go inside of you that's not going to have any duty, obligation, or responsibility of taking care of you. Because a man is charged to take care of a woman from cradle to grave. But now we got things going so bad today in this world that a little girl stands a chance of being raped, molested, and sexually abused by her father, her uncle, her brother, and everything else. This is a bad decline. And you would think that after women experiencing trauma like this, that they would turn around and go the opposite way and become haters of men. But you know what ends up happening to them? They become promiscuous. Right. They get out there and become even more promiscuous. It's really sick. It's demonic what's taking place out there. But unless you get around holiness, unless you get around people that are preaching the truth and living the truth, you can forget about peace in this life. And that's the reason why many of you today have a very low opinion and point of view of yourself. It's just a sick situation. Elder Doug, what do you think about the secular woman of today?
Well, I got here a little bit late, and possibly a lot of the topics are already covered, but what I'm thinking about is historically, I mean, if you look back maybe 60 years ago, women were still wearing dresses. They were still at home, being mothers, being housewives. They weren't out on the job. I mean, that all got started around World War II, but for thousands of years, they pretty much stayed in their place. And then lately, you got to ask yourself, what's going on? Why the move all of a sudden to the feministic movement and the homosexual movement and all the other movements that are going on? What's the reason for it? Well, to get you women out of your place, to get you in a place of dishonor. But I can tell you this much, with this New World Order coming, you are going to be put back in your place whether you like it or not. That's just a matter of the fact it is. Outside of that, I really ain't got much more to add to it.
I tell you what, when a lot of these cultures, especially the people who are going to come and destroy America, you know, how many times have we seen it over and over again, these news reporters, these American blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Barbie doll-looking reporters will go over to the East, where an Islamic State is, or you know what I mean, or culture, and try to pull the same rogue tactics. You know what I mean, or raising her voice and carry on and all this other stuff. And then the next thing you know, she's getting raped. Yep. She's getting raped and robbed and camera taken away from her and stuff, because they ain't putting up with your crap over there. And then, you know, it's even these reporters, before they can, for instance, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, all right? Before they can even get an interview with him, a woman got to do what? Cover her head, don't she? Yes, sir. Yasser Arafat, when he was head of the PLO, which I believe Palestine is a state, even though the Europeans don't want to actually acknowledge it. It makes no difference or not. But they're fighting back the best way they can, ain't they? But it's, young brother, what do you think today? Well, you're a young man. How old are you? 22. 22 years old. Step up here real close, real quick. And what do you think about the woman of today? Speak to the camera and tell them what your personal opinion is.
Well, I think it's a lack of honor for the women. They don't have no honor for their heads nowadays. You can't find the honor among younger women or older women today. And I think it starts from the older women, because these women supposed to be a lead for example for these younger women, but they're setting a bad example for them. And it's a lot of rebellion. Nobody wants to listen to their head. It's just a sad situation because these older women, it's supposed to start from them. And now when they bring these the younger women up, it's just gonna keep getting worse and worse. Because when these younger women they get older, the women that come after them, it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. It's just gonna be more dishonor and dishonor and dishonor. It's just a lack of dishonor. There's no humbleness at all. It's a lot of women prideful. Nah, there's a lot of women pride. It's a lot of pride, black and white, and that's just about as much I got to say about it, Pastor.
Man, I tell you what, he brought up a very good point, didn't he? I mean, you think about that. Now, I'm going to draw a narrative from this. You listen very closely. All right? We can't use, I'm not going to go in this year. I'll go back to generation before. All right? For instance, the time, my mother and father's been married for like 53, 54 years, something like that. Your mother and father's been married forever, ain't they? Yes, sir. Forever and a day and all this other stuff, right? But look at this. See, this is a different generation. A total different time frame. Now watch this. My generation, 10 years give it one way or the other, like the young man is saying. You've got these women who are having babies at 16, 17, 18 years old. Didn't have a lick of morality in them whatsoever at all. No morals, no values. So then they turn around and had children. What could they put into these women? They had nothing to put in them.
Right.
They had nothing to put in them. They had nothing to offer them. And that's the reason why you got women running around twerking, shaking their ass and everything else, because that's the height of this generation is pleasure. That's all it is. It's all it is. And go find you a man. And if you can't get a man, don't worry about it. Have all the babies you can and let the government take care of you, and then saddle his butt up with debt and everything else, and make sure you pay child support. This is the decline right here, because the older women did not teach them. You women today, can you even point to one woman of holiness, truth, and righteousness that lived that example that you personally would follow after? Think about that. That's pretty bad. That is bad. That is bad when you can't even point to one woman that you are willing to sit at her feet and learn from. Is that not a sad situation? Let's let you know the decline of this society right here. And I'm going to say something that's very painful to many of you women. The only thing that will straighten out your attitude is the threat of another woman in the house. That's the only thing that's going to humble many of you and straighten you out. That's it. And where you get that from? I get that from Abraham. I get that from Jacob. I get that from Moses. I get it from Solomon. I get it from David. I even get it from the family of Jesus that many of you don't even know about. I get that from the Hebraic culture, the Hebrew culture. Because those women were honorable back then. And there ain't no Sarahs today. So the problem is we got foolish women. Can you imagine a 70-year-old woman talking about, I want to go live. I want to get married. I want to sow my own. What the hell are you talking about getting married at 70 damn years old? Huh? 70 years old. And that's all you think about? Man, that's foolishness. That is foolishness. But we don't have any older women today that's going to teach the younger women. The best we're able to do in our generation is women who have come out from this wickedness and that is around our age, within 45 to 55 years old, that are now teaching the women that are 20 years old and upward and younger. They're teaching them because these are the only examples that the younger women have, is the women who have grew up in this world, come out of this world, and now they're embracing the righteousness and the holiness of the law, statutes, and commandments. There ain't nobody else at all to be an example for these younger women. And this video is not what you would call, like some of you women would do, say, bash the woman video. Y'all asked me about adultery, so I answered this stuff, but we just led off into a few other things. But like I said, these men right here, none of these men right here are going to be married to a Jezebel woman. No, we ain't gonna do it. And another thing, we're not gonna go out there and get your marriage license, and because we're not gonna sit up there and have the Latin Roman state of the God of the Romans saddle us with a third-party contractual agreement and then strip everything we got away from us because we ain't playing your game. We opting out. And if a woman comes over, she can't be rehabilitated, she can't get this, we'll give you a bill of divorce and kick your butt on out and say, see you later. There'll be somebody else, watch this, we heard this in the book before, that is better than you are. We heard that before in the book, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know a lot of you women can't take it, but there's women out there that are better than you. That ain't wearing all this makeup. Spandex. You know, I said the other day I was in the airport, right? I seen one of the most nastiest, vilest things you ever seen before in your life. There was a woman that she couldn't be no more than 5'6", looked like she weighed 250 pounds. She had flip-flop and spandex on and had a tank top shirt on. Y'all follow me? With no bra. I'm like, damn, where's the shame at? Where's the shame at? I mean, she could at least took a curtain off the wall and covered herself and been honorable, but this is vile and nasty.
Yes.
Where's the shame?
I mean,
And then the same thing, you go up here in Walmart, you see these women running around showing their booty cracks. This is vile and nasty. And women, there's only a few holiness left. Few of you left in holiness. I hope you understand and get anyway. I think I've kept y'all long enough. Elias about to die over there. Elias, do you have an opinion about this?
No, I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay. Elias, man, a few words. All right. Anyway, hey, I hope I've said something. I really, truly am trying my best to encourage you. Remember, Pastor Dowell, we're not in on religion. We're in the faith. We don't do that religion junk. We're in the faith. And we just live. That's all there is to it. And I will tell you this. We have some very honorable women in our community and the ministry. I mean, it is something for you women in the world to envy. It really, truly is when you start looking at some of the attitudes and how the Most High is transforming all of us. Because, I mean, a wicked woman is appointed to a wicked man, isn't she?
Yeah.
Isn't that right? A wicked woman is what the book says. So, hey, our hope is quickly fading away. It really, truly is. But anyway, you can only commit adultery with a married woman, period. That's it. And of course, the penalty then was death. Did they change that? Well, I don't know how. Some way, somehow, and stuff. It was the putting away, but everything seemed to be relaxed somehow. Look, I got to sneeze. But anyway, y'all have a blessed day. Shalom.